This place isn't for low-class people. That's what Nathan said, right there in the middle of the Magnolia Hill reunion, his words landing with that cold, smug smile like he was just dying for a reaction standing there beside his porcelain-perfect girlfriend, all the room's eyes suddenly glued to Yara. The thing is, if Nathan expected her to wilt, he must have forgotten who she was. Because Yara just stood there, spine straight, shoulders loose, and the kind of silence you can actually hear settled over the crowd, heavy as velvet. At that exact moment, a man stepped in through the doors, face still shadowed by the lights. Behind him, let me back up a sec, because what's about to happen isn't just some neat little slice of karma. No, this is the long game, the quiet storm nobody saw coming. Yara used to believe that keeping quiet was the same as keeping the peace. When she first married Nathan, their house was full of that comfortable hush-soft shoes on hardwood, lazy weekend mornings, the sense that silence itself was safety. But peace turned out to be a trick. Years passed, and that hush thickened into something else, something with weight like a blanket slowly smothering out all the color. Nathan, ever the gentleman, was all please and thank you, holding doors, singing her praises at parties. But behind closed doors, his attention wandered, not cruel, just missing. He never yelled, didn't need to. A sideways glance, a little comment, you want to wear that? It's a bit much. Suddenly, the dress she'd picked with excitement seemed wrong, as she found herself changing into something safer. Beige became her camouflage beige clothes, beige life blending in so much she started disappearing, bit by bit. It was never loud. Nathan would just make a joke at her expense at some fundraiser. A smile playing at his lips, you're so well-spoken, makes everyone forget where you're from. People would laugh. She'd laugh too. But later, she'd scrub her face clean and feel every syllable like a bruise. He liked her smart, just not too smart, not so smart that she outshone him in front of his friends. He'd mispronounce her mother's name, turn the music down if it wasn't soft enough, always dialing her down so she'd fit. Yara got good at folding herself into the corners of rooms, smiling through the ache, biting her tongue when she wanted to sing out. You know what I mean? So no, when the affair started, it wasn't a shock. By then, the marriage was just an arrangement they both kept up out of habit. Scarlet blonde, soft-spoken, practiced at that brand of passive aggression that somehow always felt like a compliment moved right in. Nathan didn't even try to dress it up. I think we've outgrown each other, he said over coffee one Sunday. She stared at the man who once held her hand in the rain and found nothing left but an empty suit. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just excused herself and vomited in the kitchen sink. After that, Nathan spun the story. It was mutual. We wanted different things. Sure, Scarlett changed the curtains, repainted the walls, and erased every sign that Yara had ever existed. The group chat shifted. Friends drifted. Yara became a story to be closed, boxed up, and sipped over wine with a shrug. Except she wasn't gone, not really. Beneath all that loss, something was kindling a kind of fury, so quiet it was almost holy. She started remembering who she'd been before the world asked her to shrink. She bought bright curtains, played music loud, and started to fill the space with herself again. It wasn't beautiful, not at first. Healing rarely is. She took odd jobs, waited tables, ran workshops at the community center, where women listened not because she was flashy, but because she had survived the fire and could still talk about it. That's where she met Tarek. The guy was always in the back, silent, listening, never trying to take up space, just present. Turns out, he'd built his own fortune, but he wore it like old jeans, quiet, humble. Months passed before he even asked her to dinner, and when he did, it wasn't some grand gesture. Just a small Ethiopian place with jazz playing on scratched vinyl. And when she smiled, it wasn't an act. She didn't have to shrink or perform. She just was. When he proposed, it was under the late summer trees, and all he said was, "I don't want to fix you. I want to stand beside you while you keep becoming." And that was enough. But life always circles back, doesn't it? The Magnolia Hill alumni invitation arrived in a fat envelope, smelling of old money and cheap perfume, embossed with gold, pretending inclusion. For most, that reunion was just nostalgia. For Yara, It was a test-measuring stick, another room full of side glances and quiet hierarchies. She let it sit on the counter for days. When she finally told Tarek, he just said, "Go for you, not for them." That landed. Nathan, meanwhile, held his own invitation like a trophy, joking with Scarlett about who'd show up looking old. Scarlett, never one to be upstaged, made a call to the committee, just a friendly suggestion that the guest list represent the school's values, whatever that means. The message was clear. Some people, Yara among them, were not meant to be center stage. But Yara RSVP'd anyway, not to prove anything, but to reclaim the part of herself she'd left behind. She pulled out a notebook and wrote down the names of every teacher who'd called her articulate, with surprise, every friend who'd vanished where she refused to shrink. It wasn't a battle cry. It was closure. The reunion came, and she didn't pick beige. She chose a dress the color of royalty deep purple with gold threading. Her hair crowned, her presence undeniable. The night of the reunion, Magnolia Hill was a cathedral to exclusion chandeliers dripping with history, laughter echoing off marble, everyone measuring everyone else. Nathan was there, pressed suit, Scarlett a designer dress. Yara walked in alone, heels clicking, and the room shifted, conversations stalling mid-sentence. Scarlett noticed first, tightening her lips, whispering Nathan's name. When he looked at Yara, it was the look of a man who'd just realized the story he'd told about himself might not hold up. Yara didn't approach anyone. She let them come to her awkward greetings, compliments that landed a beat late. When someone mangled the name of her nonprofit, she corrected them, gentle but firm. Scarlett made her move, all thinly veiled compliments about bravery. Yara's "thank you" was so soft it felt like a dare. Nathan circled, unable to break through. Donors and teachers, once dismissive, now leaned in to listen. The power had shifted and everyone felt it, even if they couldn't explain how. Then, just as the lights dimmed, Tarek entered, quiet as a secret. He didn't need to perform. His presence alone did the talking. He walked over, placed a hand on Yara's shoulder, not as a claim, but a promise. "I see you. I respect you." At that moment, the MC announced a donation that doubled the fundraiser's gala gift from an anonymous donor who named Yara the honorary guest of the night. Silence, then applause, slow and uneasy as people realized just how much they'd underestimated her. Nathan clapped, but it sounded like regret. Yara stood, nodded, offered a smile that said more than any speech. She hadn't come back to ask for space. She was there to show them she never needed their permission in the first place. As the night went on, people scrambled to align themselves with her legacy. Nathan finally approached the mirror at the end of the hall, caught sight of himself beside her, and for a split second he saw the gap between who he was and who he'd pretended to be. He tried to talk memories, but Yara just said, "The difference isn't the dress. It's that now I wear it for myself." He flinched and walked away. No drama, just a quiet defeat. People left. The reunion changed. Scarlett's reputation took a hit. Some donors pulled support, and Nathan found himself moved to a quieter role at work. Not ruined, just faded. Life's gentle reminder that when you build your house on someone else's silence, eventually the walls crumble. Meanwhile, Yara kept building, mentoring young women, opening new centers named after the women who'd lifted her up, choosing presence over performance, planting something deeper than legacy. She stopped needing mirrors to believe in her light. She didn't want anyone's envy or regret, just space to rise, to breathe, to become. The world spun on, but she stayed rooted, laughing loud, living big, holding the door open behind her. Because that's the secret. Power isn't about who gets to speak first. It's about who remembers to look back, to lift up, to leave the room brighter than they found it. So now I gotta ask, what about you? Have you ever had to rise in a room that tried to shrink you? Drop your story below. Tell me how you reclaimed your space. And let's talk about what real justice looks like. Because in the end, the only reflection that matters is the one that makes you feel whole.